Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Emily if you're new here. Today's video is going to be my June wrap up and my July TBR, tentative TBR. I am extremely late into filming this video, so I do apologize. It is the second week of July currently and I'm only just getting to filming this video now. I'm currently participating in summerween, which goes from the 7th through to the 13th of July, so I do have a few books that I'd like to talk about that is on my TBR for summerween, but I'm not going to go too in depth into the books because I do have a reading vlog coming out for my summerween reading vlog, which I will explain and describe every single book that I will be reading in that reading vlog. So I'm just going to go through my TBR first for July and then I'll go through what I read in the month of June. So I'm going to start off with the books that are on my summerween TBR. So the first book that I have here is Cursed Bunny by Borochong. This is a collection of short stories. It is a mixture of horror, science fiction and literary fiction. There is a lot of magic realism as well that is included throughout the whole entire book basically. Like, I'm already 5 stories in and there is a lot of magic realism resemblance. Just a weird Korean horror, so I'm very excited to continue on reading this. I have already started reading this and I'm loving it so far. The next book on my TBR is a supernatural thriller, and that is Bunny by S.E. Tolson. So I'm just going to go over the synopsis of this one because it sounds really interesting. So it says as a blurb for fans of Stephen King and the Stranger Things. So right off the bat, it sounds really intriguing to me. 2 eyes bore into him from across the room. They are not her eyes. They are the same colour and shape, but they are not her eyes. I see you. Silas didn't have a happy childhood. Aunt Bunny made sure of that. But out of money and almost out of time, Silas and his girlfriend Rose are forced to return to his childhood home. Back to the darkness, back to the woods, where addiction and hedonism are disguising something much more sinister. Plagued by strange, unnerving events, Silas is drawn back into the family by an ancient presence deep in the woods. It will not let him go, and neither will Bunny. So yes, this is a haunting psychological thriller and I'm so excited to read this for Summerween. Next book on my Summerween TBR is Stolen Tongues by Felix Blackwell. This is on my Kindle, so I don't have a physical book on me, but Stolen Tongues is about a couple who decide to go on a retreat / like vacay sort of thing to a very secluded cabin which is in the woods, and it is currently dead in the middle of winter. So they go to the cabin and weird things start happening straight off the bat. Now, I'm going to give like a minor spoiler because I don't know if people might be interested in picking up due to the secludedness, like the secluding cabin horror vibes, but only about 20 to 30% of the book actually is in the cabin, and then they actually go back to their home in the city and the entity, whatever it is, follows them home. So that's a minor spoiler about Stolen Tongues, just if anyone's interested in reading it. It is not a secluded cabin winter horror. And the final book on my Summerween TBR is Parasite, which is a manga. This is going to be volume 1 that I will be reading. Now about Parasite, it is basically what the title says. It is a parasite that is coming from space and it invades a human vessel. So they are sort of like aliens, and that's why it's like a sci-fi horror manga. So I am really excited about it. I have heard really good things about this manga series. Now that is my Summerween TBR done. I'm going to talk about some of the other books that I may get through to this month. I have already read a few books so far in the month of July, but I'm not going to talk about them now since I've already read them. I will be talking about them in my July wrap up. So I have a few books that I would like to read for a themed reading vlog that I have planned. I really want to get through some of my indie fantasy romance books. So when I went to Babe, I picked up a few books, obviously at Babe, and that Babe is an indie author event. So I didn't get this one at Babe, but it is an indie published book. The Lust for Blood, A Realm of Curses novel by Casey Smith. I am obsessed with this cover. It is stunning. The contrast, the colors, it's beautiful. This is a demon paranormal fantasy romance. So I'm really excited about that. I'm not going to tell you guys much about it because I want to save that for the vlog, but it sounds really intriguing and I can't wait to pick it up. Next book that I have on my TBR, which is also for that reading vlog that I have planned, is Wolf Trials by Mila Young and R.A. Johns, the Shadowmate series. So this is book 1 in the Shadowmate series. I did talk about this in my unboxing video that I did for Babe, but this is basically a why choose werewolf romance. So yeah, I'm really excited as well to pick this up. And then another book that I have here, which is also going to be a part of that reading vlog. The next book that I have here is Twice Bitten New Moon Series Book 1 by Belle Harper. Belle Harper is also an indie author, an Australian indie author, so I'm really excited to read this. This is another why choose werewolf romance. And I haven't read any of those besides Zodiac Academy, which obviously has werewolves in the series, urban fantasy, but I haven't actually read a dedicated werewolf series before, so I am really excited to read this. The next book on my TBR is just something that I really want to get to this month because I've heard amazing things, and I recently actually bought this book because it's sold out everywhere on the Australian Amazon page. I tried searching for it everywhere, but I am a part of this Facebook group, and I posted that I was looking for it, and somebody said they were selling it, so of course I bought it. One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I have only heard phenomenal things about this. So all I know about One Dark Window is that it is a gothic fantasy romance. So I'm really excited about this. This is also Rachel Gillig's debut novel, and I know that there is going to be a sequel coming out to this book, I think in September or October. I could be totally wrong, but I think there is another book being released this year for the second book in this series. So I can't wait to read this. This is one of Tori's favourite books from Tori Between Pages. So I have put all of my hope into her recommendations because I feel like I'm really going to enjoy this. And then I picked these two books up from the library, so I'm just going to talk about the first one, which this is Five Survive by Holly Jackson. I have not read anything by Holly Jackson before. I do have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder on my physical TBR. I probably should read that first, but I did pick this up from the library because I have heard really good things. This is a standalone thriller, a YA thriller. So it's about 5 friends, and their RV breaks down in the middle of nowhere, and it is no accident. So someone purposely made the RV break down, and there is someone out there that wants one of them dead. So basically they have 8 hours until dawn. The 6 friends must escape or work out which one of them is the target. Buried secrets will be forced to light, and not everyone will survive the night. So one of them dies. So I'm really interested to see who it is. Book that's on my TBR, which I don't have physically, but that is Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. This is for Daphne's Being Book Club pick for July. So it is currently July's pick, and there will be a live show the first week in August. So I'm really excited to continue on with the Greenbone Saga series. I gave Jade War a 5 stars. I absolutely loved it, and I'm so totally sucked into this world now. I thought Jade City in the beginning was quite slow for me, but I am obsessed with these characters, and I know that there's going to be a lot of traumatic occurrences that will happen in Jade Legacy. There will be like numerous time jumps as well, so I'm really excited to continue on with the Greenbone Saga series. I just love the Call family so much, and I just can't wait to see what really happens in the next book. My TBR also I don't have physically currently right now, but I was kindly gifted this one by my friend Rami from Rami Reads. I won her 1K giveaway on her YouTube channel. So she asked me what I would like off my wish list on Amazon, and I asked for The Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. So I will be reading book 2 in the Red Rising saga series in the month of July, hopefully. I'm so excited. Red Rising pretty much left on a massive cliffhanger, and there's just so much more to the story that I obviously am yet to know about. So I'm just so excited to continue on with Red Rising. I just think it's a phenomenal sci-fi series. I don't read sci-fi, and I was sucked into Red Rising, and I am obsessed with it. So I can't wait to read book 2. Rami and I actually buddy read Red Rising. I am planning on doing a full review on the Red Rising trilogy, well, the first 3 books anyways, once I do finish them. So I really do look forward to that video as well. So those are pretty much the books on my TBR for the month of July. As I said, it is quite tentative. I hopefully will stick to it, but there is quite a few books on there, and I can only read so much in a month. So, but yeah, so far I'm actually doing quite well. I've already read 5 books, and it is only like the 2nd week, so I have high hopes for the rest of my TBR. In the month of June I read 10 books. I read 4 audiobooks, 2 ebooks, and 4 physical books. June was definitely my best month in quantity wise for the books that I read. So 10 is definitely the highest that I have read so far this year. So I will just talk about the books in order that I read them. And I participated in the Once Upon a Readathon, which was hosted by Hannah Blackwell. So I really enjoyed this readathon as well. I was Team Pirates and we won, so that's really exciting. Order of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. I rated it a 5 out of 5 stars. It was super fast paced. The characters were really interesting. I felt connected to the male and female main character. I liked the pirate and water-based setting of the book. I thought it was super different. I haven't read any pirate books before, so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. So Daughter of the Pirate King is about the daughter of the Pirate King, and her name is Alosa, and she obviously is the daughter of the Pirate King, and the Pirate King runs the waters of this world, and she one day is kidnapped and taken as a prisoner onto the enemy ship. And we find out that the male main character's name is Raiden, and so he kidnaps Alosa thinking that, you know, they're taking the Pirate King's daughter into their hands and they're going to be able to wager a bargain with the Pirate King. But what they don't know is Alosa purposely gets herself on that ship because she is on a mission to find something that her father requires for some massive thing that he's going to be doing. We follow Alosa on the enemy ship as a prisoner, and we get to see her and Raiden's banter between one another. I thought it was really funny. I really liked their banter. I also liked the tension between the two of them. There was a lot of sexual tension because they both found each other quite attractive. So all in all, I thought it was a fantastic read and I highly recommend it. I will definitely be picking up the sequel to that, which is The Daughter of the Siren Queen. So I really do look forward to picking that up at some point. The next book that I read was What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. This was an audiobook that I finished and I rated another 5 out of 5 stars. I love this. It is a thriller. It is very gripping. I found myself absolutely captivated by the storyline, and I was listening to it at work, but I was so invested in what was happening in this story. So What Lies in the Woods is about a woman by the name of Naomi, and Naomi was almost murdered 13 years, I think, before the current timeline. So she is obviously an adult now. When she was almost murdered, she was 11 years old. It was either 12 or 13 years prior. And her friends at the time witnessed her almost getting stabbed to death, and they put a serial killer away in prison for life, and they thought that they had captured her, that attempted murderer. But unfortunately, a call from the sheriff saying that Stahl, the murderer, died in prison from cancer. And so they all meet up thinking that this is the end, but really it's not, and it just gets really intense. And I did not see the plot twist coming at the end of this book, but I really enjoyed this. I definitely recommend it for anyone who is into thrillers, because I felt like it was definitely very thrilling, in my opinion. The next book that I read was Jade City by Fonda Lee. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed this. The beginning for me was quite slow, so the first 300 pages I would say I was not really interested all that much in the story until things started picking up from there, and I fell in love with the characters. I fell in love with the magic system and the jade. I love this. I really enjoyed the last 300 pages, so that's why it's getting a 4 stars, because the beginning was quite slow for me. But if you don't know what the Greenbone Saga series is about, it is about 2 clans, the No Peak clan and the Mountain clan, and there's 2 clans that go head to head with each other, basically into war over a new synthetic drug that is being made, that is being sold to foreigners, which is basically gives you the ability to wield the same powers that Jade gives the Greenbones. So this new drug, SM1, gives the ability that Jade gives Kekane's Greenbones. So the No Peak clan are totally against it, and they don't want it being sold to foreigners because they don't believe that they have the right, because it is all spiritual. They believe in the gods, that the gods gave them powers, like the gods gave them the ability to wield jade, and it's just really interesting. And the Mountain clan are all for making money, all for selling this product, and obviously things happen between the 2 clans and they go to war. That is basically what this series is about, and it is so good. We get a lot of politics, we get a lot of character growth. It is definitely a character driven series, and there is also a lot of high stakes and politics involved in this series. So yes, I highly recommend the Greenbone Saga series if you're interested. It is definitely high fantasy, so go into that knowing that it is high fantasy, but I am absolutely loving it, and I did not think that I would say that. The next book that I read in the month of June was no other than Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I love this. I was so surprised that I did. I gave it a 5 stars. I honestly thought that the writing was extremely cringy. I will say that. I did a whole entire reading vlog dedicated to Fourth Wing. I will actually put it up in the cards. I thought this was so cringy. I thought the writing style was cringy. The inner and outer dialogue of our female main character Violet was cringy. It read completely YA to me instead of new adult, which it is marketed as a new adult fantasy romance. So go into that knowing that there is a lot of cringy dialogue. As for the plot, I loved it. I just completely bypassed the whole cringiness and didn't really take notice of it because of how much I thoroughly enjoyed the plot of this book. I love the dragons, I love the magic system, I really enjoyed the school-based setting. This obviously is set in a school, and we have dragons and we have dragon riders, and it is fight to the death vibes. It was absolutely phenomenal. I'm not going to talk too much about this because I did go completely in depth in my reading vlog, but just know that I absolutely love this. I have a new fictional crush on Xaden Ryerson, so if you know, you know, you know. It's so good. I highly, highly recommend this. The next book that I read was You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. This was a thriller. I found it on Libby. I rated it a 3 out of 5 stars. It was extremely underwhelming to me, especially the ending. I kind of just did not like it whatsoever. I didn't like the plot twist that happened. Yeah, I didn't see it coming, but I did not like it in like one bit. So You Shouldn't Have Come Here is about a woman by the name of Grace, and she decides one day that she's going to go on a holiday to Wyoming, and she packs her bags and drives from New York all the way to Wyoming, and she stays 2 weeks at a homestead, and Calvin, our male main character, runs this homestead. Calvin, our male main character, runs this homestead, and he runs it as an Airbnb, so people stay there and he stays there with them, and you know, they form a relationship and friendship or whatever. So Grace arrives, and right off the bat she thinks that Calvin's really attractive and that she's really excited to stay there, and she hasn't really ever stayed in a place like Wyoming before. And now at this homestead there is no cell reception, there's no Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi cut out at a time you know. So she doesn't really think much of it until weird things start happening, and like, you know, she gets kind of uncomfortable. They get a trip from the sheriff saying that a woman was supposed to check in to Calvin's homestead a week or so before Grace arrived, and she never checked in, and no one has seen her since. So there is a missing person, and they start to like try and think about how she went missing and where things are happening around the homestead. Yeah, I liked it, and that's why I kept listening to it, because I just wanted to know what happened to the missing woman. But the ending I did not like at all. I thought it was quite stupid in my opinion. And Colleen Hoover was mentioned in this book, and I don't really like Colleen Hoover all that much. I was kind of thrown off at that as well, because she actually blurbed this book, but she was mentioned in the book as well, so it kind of annoyed me that way too. But I gave it a 3 stars because I did listen to the whole thing and I enjoyed some parts of it, but the ending threw me off and I didn't like it. It was really underwhelming to me. The next book that I read was These Infinite Threads by Tahira Murphy. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was quite repetitive from This Woven Kingdom, I will kind of say that. This book is almost 400 pages and we get 2 days. It is over 2 days. This 400-page book is over 2 days. We get a dual POV, we get Elise's POV, and we get Cameron's POV. And it's just Cameron whinging a lot in his POV, and then Elise trying to problem solve and think about what's really happening to her after how This Woven Kingdom ended. So I will say I'm absolutely obsessed with Cyrus. He is the king of Tulan, where they have gone in this. I love him. I just love the way he speaks. He reminds me a lot of Warner, obviously from Shadow Me series. and I just get those vibes. And now that I'm seeing it, I think that endgame is going to be Cyrus and Elise. There is a love triangle going on between Cameron, Elise and Cyrus. So I think she's going to choose Cyrus, but we will see. The line that he said was, "You stunning little hypocrite." I was like, yes, give me more of this. I love it. Like, there was one line that Cyrus said and it completely ended me. He literally said, Cyrus stared at her from where he stood, his chest heaving with barely leashed intensity. He devastated her with that look, even as he seemed planted in the ground, immovable. "Then be with me," he said softly. "Let me worship you." Oh my god, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with this Cyrus bloke, and I'm excited to see where things go in the third book that's meant to be coming out next year. And then the next book that I read was The Inmate by Freida McFadden. This was an audiobook. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed the premise and I enjoyed the plot twist that happened, but I didn't like the female main character. I don't even remember her name. That's how irrelevant that I think that she is. But she just, some of the decisions that she made, I was like, what are you actually doing right now? Like, why are you doing this? It was so irrational. Her decisions were so stupid and so poorly made. And I just thought, like, I wanted to punch her. She was really pissing me off, to be honest. Yeah, so her decisions were just so stupid. And they were just so irradical. And I had no words for her. But basically what the premise of the story is, we have the female main character and her son, and they decide to move back to a town, to her hometown. And 10 years before the current timeline is also a dual timeline. For her current timeline, she was almost murdered. And all this time she thought her ex-boyfriend, her boyfriend at the time of the murders that happened, was the one who tried to kill her. So she put her ex-partner away for life in prison, and she gets a job at that prison that he's sentenced to. So she is going to be a nurse there. And what do you know? Of course they run into each other. And on her ex-partner's file, it said that he was quite manipulative. So we get to see him manipulating her. But is he really, or is he not manipulating her? Is he telling the truth, or is he not telling the truth? It was really interesting, the premise. So that's basically where the story goes, and we see a lot of things unravel and it gets really interesting. The plot twist at the end was good. I enjoyed it, but also I was like, kind of knew that it was going to happen. So all in all, I did enjoy it, and I will be reading more of Freida McFadden's work. Next book that I read was Death Note Black Edition 4, which includes volume 7 and 8. I gave this a 5 stars because I absolutely love the Death Note series. All I will say, chapter 57 in volume 7, Light, deserves so much better, and I have already spoken about this, but I am still traumatized by that experience that I read. That's all I will say. It was so good though. I really enjoy this manga series and I highly recommend it. If you were starting out with manga even, I think it is a great manga series to start with. I just really enjoyed it. It's definitely action-packed and there's always something going on. So if you like fast-paced reads, definitely pick up Death Note. The next book that I read was a graphic novel which was called The Secret Garden by Maria Marsden. Now this was like a cute middle grade graphic novel, I suppose. I read this for the readathon and I did enjoy it. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It is basically about a little girl who is taken to her uncle's like mansion, and her parents unfortunately died, and she has gotten her way her whole entire childhood and thinks that she can be rude to anybody. And she starts learning quickly that that's not how her other family works. And so she goes for a walk into the garden and she finds the secret garden. And it's basically her just exploring, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cute. And yeah, I don't particularly remember much about it, but I think that's definitely what happened. So, and then the final book that I read in the month of June, The Watchers by A.M. Shine. This was also another audiobook, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought the ending was quite intense, but I don't know, in some parts I found it a little bit slow. It reminded me of The Walking Dead, literally, kind of, in the aspect of hiding from these creatures, not having any contact with the real world. The real world doesn't know that these things exist, and that they had to collect and find their own food and water for months on end. So I thought it was a very intense in that way, like definitely like survival mode, instincts. And the story is basically about our main character, Mina, and she was given a task by a friend where she was from to deliver a golden kanya to somebody a few hours away. So she packs up the golden kanya, it is a parrot, and sets off on this adventure to deliver the parrot. And she gets close and then her car breaks down in the middle of the woods, and so she thinks that she's going to walk the rest of the way. So she gets out of her car and starts walking, but soon realizes that it was a complete mistake, and she finds a woman yelling out to her saying hurry, and the woman basically is out the front of this shack, and they run inside and they lock all the doors, and her name is Madeline, and Madeline is basically telling her, like, you do not go outside after the light comes on. And there's a light inside the shack, and there is glass that is all around, that is reflective glass, so you can't see in from the outside. And it was just really intense, and they were basically running from these monsters. So you find out that they're monsters, and like they will try and kill you in the dark. So you are safe in the light, but that is basically all. Then we follow them on like this survival. There is 2 other people as well as Mina and Madeline. We follow 2 other characters in this story, Daniel and Kira, and they are also with Madeline at the time, and Kira's husband unfortunately died trying to find a way out of the forest, because you cannot leave once you are there, basically. So they are there for months trying to survive, trying to keep themselves alive, trying not to get eaten by these monsters, and they soon uncover the truth about what these creatures really are. So that's where the story goes. It is definitely gripping, and I felt super captivated, just empathized with them so much because I really wanted them to survive, and I was rooting for them to get out of that horrid place that they were in. If you were into like horror, I do recommend you picking this up. It wasn't scary really in any parts, but it was quite unsettling, and I definitely did root for these characters to get out of there. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me towards the end of this video if you have made it. I definitely talked about a lot of books, but I'm really excited to read more this month. I just absolutely am in such a reading mood lately, so I really hope that sticks. Please comment down below what your favorite read was in the month of June. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in my next one.